Story 1. Acting like the main character in every situation is not always appropriate. Not everything is about you. Sometimes the world continues on without your drama. Story 2. People who tell me how poor they and their children are receive $500 bleaching treatments at the hairdresser. Story 3. Incompetence and a lack of basic knowledge can be frustrating. We all have those moments, but come on. What do you mean you don't know how to sweep? It's just a broom. Story 4. I don't understand people who keep their dogs on chains outside all day and night. It feels cruel and unfair to the animal. Dogs need companionship, comfort, and the freedom to move around. Story 5. When people don't say thank you after you hold the door for them, it's a small thing, but come on, manners cost nothing. Story 6. Being anti-vaccine or promoting alternative medicine remedies to others often overlap. Story 7. How someone's children behave often raises concerns. Too frequently, children are allowed to act uncontrollably in public, and their parents do not intervene. This was especially evident when I worked at a pet store. I often witnessed children putting their hands in fish tanks or banging on the glass, and I would say, "Hey!" The parents would respond with, "Oh, it's okay. Little Timmy didn't mean it." However, these are living creatures that are already stressed from being kept in poor conditions. I can't change those circumstances because of corporate policies, and I do not need your sticky, smelly, germ-covered children making their lives more difficult. Story 8. Poor spelling and grammar make it difficult to consider anyone of average intelligence if they type would have. Story 9. A complete inability to predict the needs of others. The kind of person who will stand by and watch you work or clean but not offer to help. Willful ignorance. An inability to self-educate. Lack of humor. Individuals who defend oppressive ideologies. Writing this was difficult. I truly need to end this relationship and move out. Story 10. Smoking in their car. Not having their dogs on a leash. Excessive use of perfume or aftershave. Wearing house slippers or pajamas outside. Story 11. Coming into the office coughing and sneezing. I announced, "It's hay fever, and definitely not COVID. No, I don't need to do a test because I just know." Story 12. When they pierce the ears of their babies, it inflicts unnecessary pain for a vanity procedure. Story 13. Parents who do not tell their children to wash their hands after using the bathroom or touching surfaces should be more vigilant. Additionally, parents should teach their children to cover their mouths when they cough. Story 14. Being on their phones all the time. I took a 20-year break from weightlifting. Now everyone is constantly on their phones, and it takes a long time to get them to free up a machine because they take over 5 minutes between repetitions. I even see people who have bought waterproof covers so they can bring their phones into the hot tub. I notice it several times a week. Story 15. Using AI for essays or other projects for school can undermine humanity's intelligence. Story 16. Adult wannabe gangsters. How are you going to be 35 years old in an oversized matching tracksuit, bandana, and an enormous fake gold chain while walking with a limp? Story 17. Being overly kind and happy all the time can seem like a facade. I'm not suggesting that everyone should be unhappy, but being excessively kind to everyone and maintaining a constant cheerful demeanor can come across as insincere. This reminds me of the saying, "A friend to all is a friend to none." Story 18. It's not that I judge as such. Rather, I feel like they have a lot to learn. I am a 48-year-old corporate veteran. The people I'm referring to are those who believe that loyalty to a company will be rewarded or means something. Any business that needs to cut costs will, as a matter of good practice, reduce staff costs first. Regardless of your status, tenure, or expertise, if a company needs to cut costs, you're just an entry in an accountant's spreadsheet and can be removed at the click of a mouse. So when I hear those people boasting that they've worked the most hours, are the most stressed, and are the most indispensable at a company, or that they're doing the most unpaid overtime, I can envision the CEO dressed as Emperor Palpatine saying, "Good, good, let the loyalty flow through you." Story 19. How much of their mental illness is my problem and how much is theirs? You can have a mental illness and I can accommodate you, but it is your responsibility to manage it as well. Story 20. I know I sound judgmental and I acknowledge that. I struggle with mental illness myself, and I don't understand why someone would go on disability for it. To me, it feels like giving up, like failure. I work hard to maintain a normal life. Although it might be easier to give up and go on disability, I refuse to do that and I have difficulty understanding those who do. Being active is the best thing I do for my mental health, and having a job provides the structure I need. I realize it's a terrible and hypocritical perspective, but I can't help how I feel. Story 21. People who abandon dogs after years together because they are too old and get a puppy instead are truly evil. The depression, shaking, and fear they experience at the shelter after giving you unconditional love are heartbreaking. These dogs are the luckier ones. I believe those who dump dogs out of cars and drive off while the frightened dog runs after the car in traffic deserve severe punishment. I have strong disdain for such people. Dogs should be surrendered at a shelter, police station, or fire station. Story 22. Long nails, whether acrylic or natural, can be unhygienic unless you clean underneath them several times a day. Story 23. Religiosity. The more extreme it is, the more judgmental I become. Believe what you want, but please keep it to yourself. Story 24. When the light is red, people move up a couple of inches while waiting. I need to work on that behavior. They appear foolish to me. Story 25. Giving your kids a tablet or phone to avoid boredom is, in my opinion, lazy parenting. My children are not allowed to use screens when we are out in public or at restaurants. Yes, they get bored, but that's okay, and they don't act out. My 3-year-old nephew cannot eat unless YouTube is playing. I have seen children walk around supermarkets watching screens, which is truly sad. Story 26. I am British and we mostly judge people silently rather than overtly. However, flouting the rules of queuing will earn you a loud tut accompanied by a hard stare. Story 27. Eating with their mouths open and general table manners can be off-putting. Some people seem to derive enjoyment from eating in a rude manner. Story 28. As a Christian who voted for Trump, your faith contradicts many of his actions and beliefs. Why would you, as a self-professed person of God, support a candidate who seems to dismiss religious values? Unless your primary concern is gaining power, it's time to stop the insincere religious posturing, as it no longer resonates with people. Story 29. If someone says they don't like dogs, I don't mean individuals with a phobia or obsessive-compulsive disorder. I mean those who actively dislike or hate dogs for simply being themselves. I immediately think there's something wrong with them. Story 30. Not being sensitive to their children's needs can lead to frustration. When your toddler is shouting at you, it may be because they feel ignored. If you had acknowledged their signals the first time, you would not feel overstimulated and angry now. Story 31. I used whether or not someone liked Trump as a litmus test for stupidity and personal character when I was dating. It remains a valid test to this day. Story 32. Parents who are largely uninterested in their children and do not make the effort to teach them how to be good people. Story 33. Basic manners and politeness say a lot about your upbringing and are a good indicator of a person's consideration for others. It involves more than just saying please and thank you. It encompasses basic decency and respect for those around you. For me, this includes avoiding loud music in public, refraining from swearing in front of children and older individuals, and respecting cues. Story 34. When people have bad manners at the table, especially when they are unable to eat spaghetti without looking like a garbage shredder. Story 35. Lack of self-awareness leads people to go through life oblivious to the fact that their actions have consequences they cannot perceive. Many do not fully understand the information being conveyed. Story 36. Parents who have their kids glued to a screen because they cannot be bothered to parent their children. Do not worry. Technology will babysit them. Story 37. Women who use flirty behavior to gain favor with senior men at work engage in actions like excessively complimenting them, laughing at their jokes, and not holding them accountable. They believe this will lead to a promotion, but it actually undermines their skills and abilities and sets them back. Then they complain about inequality in the workplace. If you want equality, stop pandering to men and focus on sharpening your skills, aptitude, and initiative to excel in your role like other women in your field. Story 38. Not accelerating to freeway speed on a freeway on-ramp. That is what they are there for. Please accelerate. Story 39. Not done secretly, but people who do not put their dog on a leash when they encounter dogs on leashes. Story 40. When people talk loudly on the phone or with the person next to them, I don't mind if someone has their phone on speaker, as it is often due to undiagnosed hearing issues or auditory processing disorders, and earphones often don't help. However, if they are practically screaming on the phone or the conversation lasts more than 5 minutes, it becomes really annoying. The same applies if they are shouting at the person next to them instead of speaking slowly and softly. Story 41. Not cleaning up after themselves is an issue. A little mess is normal, but a lot of mess from not picking up and putting things away makes me feel unhappy. Story 42. Spelling and grammar unless there is a legitimate cognitive reason for it. Excessive wealth. Voting for conservative policies. Story 43. Dirty houses. I'm not talking about being a little untidy. I'm talking about being straight up dirty. There has been a significant effort to normalize this. No, just no. Story 44. A specific type of tacky clothing, such as a man wearing a shirt with a bikini print, can be off-putting. I once left a date quietly without interacting because I saw my date arrive wearing such a shirt. Story 45. This is kind of small, but using disposable plates at home bothers me. I see videos of people's home-cooked meals, and if they are on disposable plates, I dislike it. Feels wasteful and lazy in my opinion. Story 46. Not making any space when walking in groups on the sidewalk can be frustrating. Why do I, as an individual, have to step aside and walk on the dirt just because the group couldn't walk in a line for a few seconds? Story 47. Rehoming an animal and adopting one is a huge responsibility. You should be mentally and physically prepared for it and commit to it no matter what. Story 48. Alright, this is going to sound bad, but being extremely obese is challenging. I'm overweight. I know what I needed to do to become this way. I can't imagine what you had to do to not fit on that mobile shopping cart at Walmart. Every once in a while, a person will walk into the store, and I'm just left wondering, how? Story 49. Using both hands while eating can lead to them getting dirty. Some individuals even use their phones with the same hands as if they are not dirty or use their dirty hands when asked to pass something on the table. Story 50. Their odor. I know I'm quite sensitive and that not everyone can help it, but any type of body odor is very off-putting to me and difficult to overlook. Story 51. Being overly enthusiastic can be annoying. People who scream, "Let's go," or similar phrases and jump around to motivate themselves for the most mundane tasks irritate me. There's no need to be excessive. Just complete the task quietly and move on. Story 52. Being rude to service personnel is unacceptable. Being out in public while obviously unwell and refusing to wear a mask or stay home puts others at risk. It is frustrating to see people pick up their dog's waste, bag it, and then leave it on the side of the trail or beside a garbage can. Story 53. If I see children under 11 or 12 years old drinking soda, I have seen children in strollers sucking on a bottle of Diet Cola. Story 54. If people believe they are the main character, I usually won't say anything. However, some individuals need to realize that they are one of 8 billion, not 1 in 8 billion. When speaking loudly in a non-native language, I find it uncomfortable to have to speak Polish in public. It seems rude, and based on my experiences, people often think they are talking negatively about others around them. Typically, I try to be quick and keep my volume low. However, Story 55. Not putting away the shopping cart reflects a broader principle. I adhere to the shopping cart theory. If you cannot complete the simple task of returning a shopping cart, even though it is neither illegal nor immoral, it suggests a lack of self-governance. Story 56. Elon Musk's son's name is XAEA12. When people name their children after things like London or Ocean. When people act like brats and don't even notice that no one cares. Story 57. being proud of their high number of sexual partners or sleeping with multiple people in 1 week. Of course, I am so happy that you are content being passed around. Story 58. Little children with beach tans. I live in Australia and we are very sun conscious, but you will still see little children at the beach in summer with deep tans. I try not to judge other parents most of the time, but that always feels neglectful to me. Story 59. People who talk during movies at the theater spend $15 on a ticket to hear your commentary about every scene? No thanks. I've mastered the art of the death glare, but inside, I'm absolutely judging. Story 60. Not clearing your own table at a restaurant includes stacking plates, ensuring all garbage is in one area, placing all silverware point side down in an empty glass, stacking glasses, and returning condiments and menus to their proper places. When I leave a table, I want them to pick up a stack of plates, a stack of cups and silverware, and simply wipe the table. My best friend does none of this. She leaves a mess when she walks away. It drives me crazy. Even my kids know how to clean the table before leaving. Story 61. Noisy eaters. I have left the room before when someone is slurping or crunching their food. Story 62. I'm reading the comments and hearing myself say, yes, I agree, that one too. I think the bottom line is that when someone isn't being considerate to the people around them, it affects everyone. Having a conversation on the stairs of a crowded station and not using turn signals in traffic are examples of this kind of behavior. I just expect more from people. Story 63. Tossing a cigarette butt. These same people usually don't throw trash on the ground. Why don't they consider cigarette butts trash? Story 64. Wealthy individuals who can do virtually anything they desire often choose to spend their time dressing in excessively expensive clothing and attending events with other affluent individuals in similar attire. Story 65. I'm not sure if I secretly do it, as it's written all over my face. People play music and videos on loudspeakers. Young men walk around with their trousers so low that their backsides show. They walk around with their hands down their trousers. There is queue jumping and poor behavior from children in public. People also act inappropriately at airports. That's enough for now. Story 66. People who can't tolerate silence should understand that it's okay to be quiet. I mention this because I've just experienced it and feel the need to go into a quiet, dark room to decompress from the endless stream of nonsense I have had to listen to. Story 67. If we went somewhere together and you walk ahead of me, why did you ask me to come with you if you wanted to go alone? Story 68. People who do not thank you for holding a door for them, who do not wave when you let them in while driving, and those who drive in the passing lane while holding up multiple cars behind them because they are going too slowly. Please get in the right lane. I do not secretly judge this. I am quite obvious about how I feel. One thing I judge people for is when adults become obsessed with Disney World and purchase season passes despite not having children and not being young adults. I do not judge young adults as harshly. However, if you are over 30 years old with no kids and are obsessed with visiting Disney World frequently, that is unusual. I noticed some of this when I lived in another state, but when I moved to Florida, it reached a whole new level of obsession. It definitely feeds the stereotype that Floridians are strange. Deep, long lines and kids, no thank you. That is my idea of hell, not the happiest place on earth. Story 69. People who don't clean up after themselves need to show courtesy in public or shared spaces where others have to clean up after them. My office has started hosting many meetings for other departments, and these individuals, who earn significantly more than the administrative staff, leave their dirty mugs and dishes scattered throughout the kitchen. We prefer not to leave the mess for the cleaner, who earns less and already has plenty to do, so we end up cleaning it ourselves. We remind that team to clean up after their meeting, and while they do so initially, they often revert to their careless habits. We should not have to remind them every single time. These are grown adults. On a related but more disturbing note, whether in a public restroom or someone's home, a toilet usually has a brush next to it. I have irritable bowel syndrome myself, so I understand that accidents happen, but why would anyone leave a toilet in such a poor state for the next person? I may be squeamish, but I was genuinely horrified when I used one of the stalls at work yesterday. I have also had guests leave my toilet in that condition. and I simply cannot comprehend it. Story 70. Airing personal issues on social media. I have done both of the last two and have judged myself. Story 71. Their perception shaped how they viewed reality after decades of being a conscious observer. Story 72. When people suck on their fingers at dinner, whether in public or at home in front of others, it can be off-putting. Additionally, leaving food on their faces while eating is unappealing. Bad breath is a significant issue as well. Story 73. I judge when I see a woman dressed in designer clothing, wearing stilettos, with perfect makeup and perfect hair, driving an expensive car. The attitude she exhibits is one of superiority. Story 74. When people believe that a pill or injection will fix their lives without the effort to change bad habits, they overlook the importance of hard work and personal growth. Story 75. People who enter a cafe or restaurant where orders are made at the counter, and instead of queuing, first reserve a table and then step into the queue. Additionally, people who jaywalk during red lights, especially when small children are standing and waiting for green lights. Story 76. I will not apologize if I accidentally step on someone's shoes or trip over someone. My respect diminishes if you cannot be polite and well-mannered. Story 77. What sort of car they drive compared to their suspected income level is intriguing. When I see someone who is likely in the $45,000 to $60,000 income range with a brand new car costing over $60,000, I automatically form a judgment and assume they are not managing their money well. Story 78. If you cannot tell a story without cursing or saying, then I will automatically assume that you are a foolish person. Story 79. If I read an article on paper and see multiple typos, sometimes even one is enough. You get paid to write, but can't be bothered to spell check? Story 80. How people treat animals is one of the best measures of a person's character, reflected in their treatment of animals, whether it be birds, squirrels, dogs, or cats. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.